Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and we have a very scared Stephen Flynn, and rightly so. He's a man who's about to lose his job, probably, and he knows it, and he's doing the rounds, and he's having the interviews, and he's trying to come across as someone who's capable and able, and I'm afraid it isn't really working. Also, he's trying to play the hard man, and he reckons he can have Nigel Farage. He says he doesn't say that directly. He says, I'm not scared of Nigel Farage. Now, of course, Farage is in his 60s. Stephen Flynn is in his 30s. So if it came to an actual fight, yes, Flynn would probably take him. But that doesn't mean he's not scared of him. Of course he's scared of him. Flynn is petrified of everyone because he knows he's so damn vulnerable. And then he comes out and he says things. And boy, are we given a glimpse on the inner workings of this man's mind. And it ain't pretty. In fact, he just highlights absolutely how out of touch with reality he is and why he must never ever be allowed to have power. Please let him go. Vote him out. People of Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire and whatever, you know full well this man is a danger to your way of life, your jobs, your economy, your children's future. Do the decent thing. Vote him out. He'll have to go and get a real job, and he's never had one of them before. That's truly, I think, what he's frightened of. Let's take a look to see why the hard man of Scottish politics is like a little quivering Bambi. Here goes. So this came from ITVX's website. I've never done one of these before, never been to this site before, but anyway, here we are. I'm not scared of Nigel Farage. SNP's Stephen Flynn answers your questions. But I bet he doesn't answer the real questions. He won't answer my questions, damn sure. And he certainly, if he tried, he wouldn't tell you the truth. Anyway, some polls have suggested Reform could beat the Tories to second place in this general election. That's across the country. And Farage has claimed he could become the Prime Minister within 5 years. And boy, I would pay good money to see that, let me tell you. But Flynn said progressive politicians in the UK must be bold and upfront to prevent that happening. He's not using the word progressive in the correct term. He seems to think high tax people, people who tax highly and who want to create division is the sort of people that are progressive. Progressive is not a good thing. It is not a virtuous thing. It is a dangerous thing. The Soviets were progressive. How did that work out? Anyway, to do that in Parliament and to achieve his party's purpose of gaining independence from the UK, the Scottish National Party needs to stage a comeback to reverse the polls. Well, it's far too late for that. And one of the biggest problems they have is, of course, their record. There's no changing that. One step towards that, Flynn will hope, was an interview with ITV News where the politician answered questions sent to us by social media users. Well, answered is perhaps probably too strong a word. And it's probably been selected by his aides and things in advance because he won't answer any of the difficult questions. Where did the 600,000 go? For example, is Nippy going to be arrested for mass manslaughter, for example? Never going to answer those questions. Anyway, Flynn on Scotland's immigration problem. Now, this is a cracker, and this is where he totally doesn't get the problem with Scotland. Flynn admitted to ITV News that Scotland has got a problem with migration, as he calls it, because they don't like using the immigration word, because apparently immigration is a non-word and you have to say migration, but migration indicates a two-way movement, whereas the problem they have is immigration, the same as Britain as a whole. But it was not the same issue raised by Nigel Farage, Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer. He said that it's too high. He says, our problem with migration, he means immigration, is that we don't have enough. So you're saying with migration, you're saying not enough people are leaving Scotland, Stephen? Or do you, use the right words and then people don't look at you and think, what a prick? Nah, they're probably still going to do that, aren't they? Anyway, he says, we need more people coming to live and work in Scotland, he said, pointing to staff shortages in the NHS. He says, but migrants aren't only needed to fill critical vacancies, Flynn added. They boost the wider economy by paying taxes and spending money. Only if they have jobs, not the ones coming off the boats with no skills, can't speak English, They ain't going to help, but they're the sort that you're thinking of coming in. And let's have a look at the problem here. He says they're not enough in the NHS. No, while you're taxing them higher, these nurses and doctors are going to go, do you know, I do the same job in England and take home more money. Let me think what I'm about to do. The highly skilled people that he's desperate for, it's not that the people aren't coming into Scotland because they've got an immigration problem. They've got a tax problem. People aren't coming to Scotland because the tax is too damn high. People are leaving Scotland because the tax is too damn high. This immigration problem of which he speaks needs to be thrown out the window and shown for what it is. Incompetence in running an economy and the failure to understand the Laffer curve. Deal with that, Stephen, and then you won't make yourself look like an idiot. Anyway, he says, why is Flynn often gunning for Labour? Okay, he says a number of our social media followers want to know why Flynn attacks Labour so much, given it is the Conservative his party is most opposed to. Well, the Conservatives are now really a finished force, aren't they? He said it's been noted that the SNP's Westminster leader uses a lot of his time at Prime Minister's questions to criticise Starmer rather than the PM, which is very odd considering it's PM questions, not Starmer questions. He says maybe it's because the Labour Party have lost their way a wee bit, he said. In 3 weeks' time, Keir Starmer is going to be Prime Minister for a few weeks, and the election's over, and the Tories are finished. Everyone knows he's going to be in power for a few weeks. And I think it's right that we scrutinise the proposals now. He's quite right. Flynn has repeatedly condemned Labour's position on Gaza, calling for an end to the weapons trade with Israel. No, we need to sell to both sides. That way it's fair and we make a lot more money and keep people in Britain employed. You know, balance of payments and all that, Stephen. That's how you deal with the world. You don't go in withdrawal and become poor. Scotland's way is not the correct way. He also said Labour must be also held to account on issues including child poverty and developing a closer relationship with Europe. Now, when Raheem Sterling talked about, I was brought up, I was always poor, look at us, we had this and we had that, we never had nothing, we were poor. Yeah, Labour government, mate. Labour government, Raheem. Remember that. Brexit and Farage. Now, here's the meat. Flynn said it is he who will provide the strong voice of opposition to Labour in the Commons. No, you won't. You're not even going to be the fourth party. It's going to be Labour as the government, second party Reform, third party the Lib Dems, and the fourth party, maybe the SNP. If the Greens don't pick it up, you could be the fifth party. Ideally, you won't even be there. It's fantastic. Asked about the possibility of Prime Minister Farage, Flynn said he could respond with a flippant answer, but I think it's probably moved beyond that now. He says, I don't think we have to take this very seriously now. Say that at your peril, mate. Due to the first past the post, Farage's Reform UK is not predicted to win enough seats to actually become the official opposition, but it's very likely to get him millions of votes. And Farage's hope for those millions of votes are enough to wipe out the Conservatives, so his party is poised to replace it at the next election. But Flynn, who's always made his opposition to the Conservatives clear, said he did not want Farage to succeed. No, of course he doesn't. He's dead scared of Farage because Farage speaks the language of the people. And I don't mean English. I mean he tells people what they want to hear. Immigration, a problem. Unemployment, a problem. International trade, a problem. Things we need to deal with. Crime, justice. All the things that people want done. He's suggesting this is what we do, rather than dick around and let's go and throw billions at Ukraine and let's go and do this. And he's saying deal with our own problems first. Quite right, and that's what people want. And that's why he's scared of Farage. He says, I don't want to see Nigel Farage achieve anything. And in political life, he's failed to be elected to Westminster on, 7 occasions? The project he devoted his entire life has been a disaster. Well, he succeeded. He got Brexit through, you didn't. He says Brexit's been an unmitigated disaster. Really? Point to it. Anyway, he says the SNP candidate said he wants to rejoin the European Union. Yes, I want freedom so Scotland can make its own rules. And the first rule we want to make is we want to hand all their power over to an unelected commission who tells us what to do, and we don't vote them in, we can't vote them out, and no matter what they say, we have to obey, or we're in trouble. Excellent choice, Scotland. Excellent choice. Hand over the keys to your country and say, we don't care anymore. You run it for us. We want no say whatsoever. Because that's what he wants. Flynn said Farage and his party are far right. They're not. In the same way as, I suppose, the SNP are Marxist. Farage is not far right. He's centrist. He's centre-right. In fact, he's only slightly right of the Tories, but that's only because the Tories have moved remarkably to the left. Farage and Reform are not as far right as Thatcher. Put it that way. They're not far right. He says, we need to be bold and upfront and straightforward in saying that we reject their politics and that migrants are welcome. Again, he means immigrants. He said there's a reluctance, particularly amongst Westminster parties, to do that because they're terrified about speaking about the benefits of migration, of which there are none, of which, of course, where Farage feels he can win some votes, win a lot of votes, because immigration has been shown to cost this country, is it 100 million a day at the moment? It's costing Britain 100 million pounds a day. I think of other things that I could spend £1 million a day on, and it wouldn't be invaders from foreign lands of fighting age. But hey, that's just me. He goes on about a few other things, but it's all bullshit from the baldy man, isn't it? He tries to portray himself as Scotland's hard man, you know? He's not. He's failed at everything. He's never had a real job. He doesn't understand what people want. And it's time for him to go and retire from politics. Take up beekeeping, something like that. Then he can get him to sit on his head and everyone can pretend he's got hair. Coming up. While I was filming that, my phone went off and it was a scammer trying to convince me that they were from HMRC. And it failed straight away because they called it Her Majesty's Customs and Excise. And I've got news for you, mate. She's been dead 2 years. These people are stupid, aren't they? Anyway, Flynn, a man of all seasons, and all of them are bad. And they're all finished. He is finished. And on the night of the election, I will be watching for Aberdeen results, and I want to see Flynn voted out, and I don't care who goes in. It's probably got to be the Tories. Get them in, doesn't matter. Get them in, save your jobs, and get Flynn out and watch him crumble as he realises he's going to have to start looking through the wanted ads. You know, he'd probably end up working in a cafe or something. Not cooking, wouldn't trust that, would you? But he can be the guy that goes around and mops the floor and cleans the tables down. It's about his level, isn't it? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Do please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and don't answer fake calls from Her Majesty's Customs and Excise. It's Revenue and Customs now anyway. These people are so dim. Bye.